At 1:47 inches the morning on Christmas Eve, my younger sister drove a pair of kitchen shears into my left bicep, and my parents filmed it on an iPhone. I remember the exact time because the microwave in my kitchen was behind her head. And the green digits were the last thing I focused on before the pain hit. I remember the sound my mother made too. It wasn't a scream. It was a laugh. A high, thin, nervous laugh. The kind she used to make when one of us spilled juice on the carpet and she didn't want to deal with it. My father said, "Oh, for God's sake, Rachel, stop being so dramatic. It's a scratch." The blood running down my arm and pooling on the hardwood of my own house said otherwise. My name is Rachel Whitcomb. I'm 29 years old, and I'm a special agent with the FBI, Financial Crimes Division. Out of the Austin field office. I own my home. I live alone. And none of that was supposed to matter to my family that night. Because the only thing that ever mattered to them was Chloe. Chloe is my sister. She's 26. She has been the center of gravity in our family since the day she was born 3 years after me. Small and pink and colicky. And my parents decided she was fragile in a way I never was. My mother used to say it like a verdict. Rachel is the strong one. Chloe needs us. By the time I was 8, I had already learned to translate that sentence. It meant Rachel will be fine if we ignore her. Chloe will fall apart if we don't give her everything. And so they gave her everything. Her own bedroom at 7 when I was sharing with cousins during family visits. Private tutoring when her grades dipped. A used Jetta at 16 when I had bought my own Corolla with summer job money. Rehab at 19 for a pill habit that my parents called a rough patch. Another rehab at 22. A third at 24. Each time, they mortgaged something else. Each time, they told me to send her encouraging texts. Each time, she came out of the facility and lasted maybe 6 months before she started again. I had stopped sending the texts 3 years ago. My mother still brought it up at every holiday. You know your sister reads everything you post on LinkedIn. She's so proud. Couldn't you just drop her a line? As if Chloe being proud of me was a currency I was supposed to accept in exchange for pretending the last 2 decades hadn't happened. 2 weeks before that Christmas Eve, my father had called me at my desk. I don't take personal calls at work. But his name on the screen at 10 a.m. on a Thursday meant something was wrong. I stepped out into the hallway. "Rachel. Honey. We need to talk about your sister. Is she hurt? No. No. She's fine. She's great. Actually, she's been sober 11 months. I waited. She wants to open a little boutique. Clothes. Accessories. That kind of thing. She's found a spot in a strip mall in Round Rock. And the lease is reasonable. And she just needs a little startup capital. 80,000. We were hoping your mother and I were hoping you might co-sign." I looked at the carpet in the hallway. I counted the pattern repeats until I could speak without my voice doing anything I didn't want it to do. "No. Rachel." I said no. "Dad. I'm not co-signing anything for Chloe. I'm not lending her anything. I'm not giving her anything. You know why? She's your sister. She's a 30-year-old problem in a 26-year-old body. And the last time I loaned her $2,000, she spent it on a man in Dallas and then told Mom I was the one who pressured her into partying. I am done. I told you I was done after the thing with my jewelry. I meant it. Your mother will be heartbroken. Dad. My mother has been heartbroken about Chloe my entire life. One more thing isn't going to break what's already broken." He hung up. No goodbye. I went back to my desk and worked on a shell company case for 4 more hours and didn't cry. Because I had learned a long time ago that crying at the bureau was a luxury you took home with you. That should have been the end of it. In a normal family, the older daughter says no. The parents sulk for a week. And then everyone shows up to Christmas dinner and pretends nothing happened. I was ready for that. I was braced for the cold shoulder. The pointed comments about how generous other people's daughters were. I had even bought gifts. Not for Chloe. For my parents. One each. Wrapped carefully. Already under the small tree in my living room, I had planned to drive out to their place in Georgetown on Christmas morning. Drop the gifts. Drink 1 cup of coffee. And leave before my mother could start. What I was not braced for was the 3 of them showing up at my front door at 1:30 inches the morning on December 24th. I have 8 security cameras on my property. That's not paranoia. That's my job. I have put away money launderers whose associates would happily know where I sleep. And the Bureau has a program for agents who want to harden their homes. 4 cameras outside. 3 inside the main floor. Angled at doors and the kitchen. 1 in the garage. All of them record to a cloud server the Bureau maintains, with backups to my personal NAS. Every camera has audio. Every camera timestamps everything down to the millisecond. I did not tell my family this. Not because I was hiding it. Because they had never asked and would not have cared. The doorbell camera woke me up at 1:28 a.m. with a motion alert. He sat up in bed, already reaching for the Glock in the nightstand, and thumbed the app open. There on the screen, in grainy but perfectly clear color, was my sister Chloe at my front door, wearing a red coat I didn't recognize, holding a gift bag in one hand and pounding on the door with the other. Behind her, on the walkway, I could see my mother in a long camel coat with her arms crossed, and my father standing back near the driveway with his iPhone already raised. The camera light blinking, already recording. Before anything had happened, I put the Glock back in the nightstand because I am not an idiot. And I am not about to become the FBI agent who shot her own sister at Christmas. I pulled on jeans and a sweatshirt over my tank top. I went downstairs. I unlocked the door. Chloe, what are you doing here? It's almost 2 in the morning. She was drunk. I could tell before she opened her mouth. Because her eyes weren't tracking right. And her cheeks had the specific flushed blotchiness of someone who has been drinking clear liquor for several hours. When she spoke, the smell confirmed it. Vodka. And something sweet underneath. I came to give you your Christmas present, she said. And she pushed past me into the foyer. Chloe. No. Stop. You need to leave. You're drunk, and I didn't invite you in. You never invite me anywhere. My mother had come up the walkway now, and she slipped in after Chloe before I could get my hand on the door. My father stayed on the porch. Phone up. Recording. Rachel. My mother said in the clipped, disappointed voice she had used my whole childhood. Your sister made you a gift with her own 2 hands, and you are going to receive it with some grace. It's Christmas. Don't be cruel. I stood in my own foyer. In my own house. At 1:30 in the morning. And I looked at my mother. And I understood with a terrible clarity that she had orchestrated this. The coat. The bag. The phone. My father was not recording for fun. This was a setup. I didn't know yet what the setup was. But I knew the shape of it. I had interviewed 1,000 liars. I knew the shape. Get out of my house, I said. All 3 of you. Right now. We can talk on the 26th if you want to. Not at 2 in the morning. Not with Chloe like this. Get out. Chloe had gone into my kitchen. I could hear her opening drawers. Chloe. Stop. Come back here. I'm looking for scissors. She called. I need scissors to open the ribbon on your gift. The bow comes off. Chloe. Come out of the kitchen. My mother was smiling. Smiling. In my foyer. At almost 2 in the morning. In a way, I had not seen her smile since I was very small. And it was the smile she used to make when she thought she had caught me in something. You're always so controlling. Rachel. You see, This is what we were telling Chloe. Your sister always has to be in charge. Your sister can't just accept love. Chloe came out of the kitchen with a pair of kitchen shears in her right hand. Not scissors. The big black-handled shears I used to break down cardboard boxes and spatchcock chickens. 7 inches of serrated steel. She was holding them point down at her hip and she was grinning. And her eyes were wet. Surprise. She said, I have been trained for a lot of things. I have been trained to clear a room. I have been trained to read micro-expressions. To de-escalate a cornered suspect. To take a gun out of someone's hand without firing a shot. None of that training prepared me for my little sister in a red coat. At Christmas. In my kitchen. With a drunk smile and a pair of shears. I took a step back toward the front door and kept my hands up and open. Clue. Put those down. Put them on the counter. We can talk. I just want to give you your present. Put them down. Chloe. My mother. Behind me. Said. Oh. For heaven's sake. Rachel. She's not going to do anything. Stop overreacting. You always overreact. And Chloe, who had been sober for 11 months, according to my father, and who had been drinking vodka for, I don't know how many hours according to my nose, lunged. It wasn't a clean stab. She was too drunk for that. She swung the shears down in an overhand arc that I got my left arm up to block. And the point of the blade went through the sleeve of my sweatshirt and into the meat of my bicep just above the elbow. About 1.5 inches deep. I felt it go in more than I felt it hurt. In that first second, the hurt came a beat later. A deep hot pulse that radiated up into my shoulder. I grabbed her wrist with my right hand before she could pull the blade out and swing again. I twisted. And she yelped and dropped the shears on the hardwood. They clattered. Blood ran down my arm and spattered my bare foot. I did not let go of her wrist. I walked her, still holding her, back into the living room, and I pushed her down onto the couch, hard enough to knock the wind out of her. And I said, You stay there. You do not move. Then I turned around. My mother was still standing in the foyer. Smiling. Still smiling. The smile was thinner now. Uncertain. But it was there. And she said the words, I will remember until the day I die. Rachel. Sweetheart. Stop being so dramatic. It's a scratch. You're ruining Christmas. My father was in the doorway. Phone up. Recording. He had been recording the entire time. He had not moved to help me. He had not moved to stop Chloe. He had stood in my doorway and filmed his older daughter getting stabbed by his younger daughter, and he had not said a single word. Blood was running down my forearm and dripping off my fingertips onto my own floor. I was very calm. This is a thing I have learned about myself. In interview rooms and in one bad afternoon in a parking garage in San Antonio 2 years ago. When something very bad is happening to me, I get very calm. It's not courage. It's just wiring. The adrenaline in my body turns into stillness instead of noise. I walked past my mother, who did not step out of the way. And I picked up my phone from the console table where I had set it down when I opened the door. And I dialed 911. 911. What's your emergency? This is Special Agent Rachel Whitcomb. FB. Badge number redacted. I'm at my personal residence. I have been stabbed by my sister. She is intoxicated. She is in my living room. And she is not currently armed, but the weapon is on the floor of my foyer. My parents are also on the premises. I need police and EMS. My address is, and I gave it. My voice did not shake. The dispatcher was wonderful. The dispatcher always is. She stayed on the line. She asked me how much I was bleeding. She asked me if I could apply pressure. I said yes, and I pulled a decorative throw off the back of my reading chair, and I pressed it against my arm with my right hand, and I kept my eyes on my mother. My mother said, Rachel. Hang up the phone. Hang up right now. You are blowing this so far out of proportion. My father finally lowered the iPhone. Honey, he said. To my mother. Not to me. Maybe we should go. We are not going anywhere. My mother said. Rachel is going to hang up that phone, and we are going to sit down like a family and work this out like adults. Chloe did not mean to hurt her. Chloe is sick. You know Chloe is sick. Daniel. Chloe. On my couch. Had started to cry. Not from guilt. From the particular self-pity of a drunk person who has just realized something is going to be inconvenient for them. I didn't mean to. She was saying. I didn't mean to. I didn't mean to. I did not hang up the phone. The first cruiser arrived in about 7 minutes. I had timed it. The officers came in with their hands on their weapons, because you do when dispatch tells you it's a stabbing. And I identified myself with my credentials in my right back pocket. And they got Chloe off the couch and into cuffs and read her rights. She was too drunk to answer coherently. My father tried to talk to the officers. Officer. This is a family misunderstanding, sir. Step back. Please. My daughter is an FBI agent. She's trained. She overreacted, sir. Step back. EMS came. They cut my sweatshirt sleeve off right there in the foyer, and they cleaned the wound and packed it, and told me I was going to need stitches and possibly a tendon check. The paramedic was a woman about my age, and she saw my mother standing there with her arms crossed, still looking furious. And she looked at me and she said, quietly, "You want her in the ambulance with you?" "No." I said, "I want her arrested." The paramedic blinked. "Ma'am, officers." I said, loud enough to carry. My father recorded everything that happened tonight on his iPhone. I have reason to believe that within the hour he is going to post an edited version of that footage on Facebook claiming that I assaulted my sister. I am asking you to secure that phone as evidence. Right now. Before we leave this house. My father's face did something I had never seen it do before. It turned gray. Daniel. My mother said sharply. Tell them they can't do that. They can absolutely do that. Mom. The lead officer said. He had figured out the shape of the room now. Cops are good at that. The good ones. Sir. I'm going to ask you to hand me that phone. It's my personal property. Yes, sir. And I have probable cause to believe it contains evidence of a felony assault. You can hand it to me now. Or I can get a warrant in about 40 minutes, and in the meantime we can all stand right here. Your call. My father handed him the phone. I went to the hospital. 12 stitches. 2 layers. The doctor was kind and professional and asked me twice if I was safe to go home, and I said yes. I own cameras. I own a gun. I have the Bureau's security team on speed dial. He wrote me prescriptions and gave me discharge papers, and I got an Uber home at 5 in the morning on Christmas Eve. I did not sleep. I made coffee. I called my supervisor. She said the words every agent wants to hear from their SAC at 5 a.m. On a holiday, Rachel. I am so sorry. What do you need? What I needed was a lawyer. She gave me 3 names. The best of them. A woman named Patricia Vega out of Austin. Called me back within the hour. Here is what Patricia found out in the first week. My father had, in fact, tried to post the video. He had posted it at 3:14 a.m. from his phone. Before the officer confiscated it. Using my mother's Facebook account because his own had been deactivated years ago. The caption read, "Heartbroken tonight. Our older daughter Rachel attacked her own baby sister over a Christmas gift. We raised her better than this. Please pray for our family." The video was 17 seconds long and had been cut to start right after Chloe had already been stabbed. So that what you saw was me standing over her. Shoving her onto the couch. My hand around her wrist. You couldn't see the shears. You couldn't see the blood on my arm. Because the angle hid it. You couldn't hear my mother telling me to stop being dramatic. The post got 83 shares before the officer made them take it down. Screenshots existed. Screenshots always exist. My mother, it turned out, had been calling relatives and my parents' church friends for 2 weeks, telling them I had become cold and refused to help Chloe, and that she was worried about my mental state. She had been building the story. She had been seeding the ground. The Christmas Eve visit was not an accident. It was a staged event. They had brought Chloe, drunk, to my door at almost 2 a.m. On camera. Because they wanted something to happen. They did not expect the shears. But they had wanted something. Anything. That would let them post a video saying Rachel is the problem. Rachel is unstable. Rachel refused to help her family and then assaulted us. Please feel sorry for us. Please keep loving Chloe. I learned this because Patricia subpoenaed my mother's phone records and her Facebook messages. I learned this because my own security camera had audio of my mother, in my foyer, saying to my father, right before Chloe came out of the kitchen, just keep recording. Daniel, whatever happens, keep recording. That's the whole point. Whatever happens, keep recording. That's the whole point. The trial was in May. 5 months. Chloe's public defender tried to plead it down to simple assault. The DA, a woman named Marisol Ortega who read the camera footage and the phone transcripts and my mother's Facebook messages back to back in one afternoon, declined. She charged Chloe with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. She charged my mother and my father, jointly, with conspiracy to file a false police report, tampering with evidence. And this was the one that took me by surprise: criminal defamation, which Texas has as a statute, narrowly defined, but applicable when you knowingly publish a false statement accusing someone of a crime. The Facebook post accusing me of attacking Chloe qualified N1. Chloe took a plea 2 weeks before trial. 5 years. With eligibility for mandatory inpatient rehab after the first 12 months. And a permanent no-contact order with me. My parents did not take a plea. My mother told anyone who would listen that she was going to clear her name. My father was quieter. I think he knew. The trial lasted 4 days. The prosecution called me. They called the responding officers. They called the paramedic. They called an FBI forensic tech who walked the jury through the camera footage, timestamp by timestamp, showing the moment Chloe came out of the kitchen with the shears. The moment she lunged. The moment the blade went into my arm. The moment my mother said the word dramatic. They played my mother's audio from my foyer. Her voice clear, saying just keep recording. 3 times. At 3 different volumes. So the jury could not miss it. My mother took the stand in her own defense, against her lawyer's advice. She told the jury that I had always been jealous of Chloe. She told them that I had manufactured the severity of my wound. She told them that she, as a mother, had a right to document her family's interactions. She told them that I had lured Chloe to my house. She said this with the cameras rolling and her own voice playing on the jury's monitors 10 minutes before the jury's monitors. The jury was out for less than 3 hours. When the verdict was read, my mother was sitting at the defense table in a navy blazer she had bought for the trial. My father was next to her in a gray suit that was a size too big. The judge, a man named Harlan Bratcher, who had been on the bench in Travis County for 22 years. Read the verdicts one by one. Guilty. 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 On all counts for both of them, my mother made a sound. I will remember this sound for the rest of my life. It wasn't the laugh from my foyer. It was the opposite of the laugh. It was a low, vet, open-mouthed noise, halfway between a sob and a word she couldn't quite form. And she half rose from her chair and then sat back down hard. and her legs seemed to give out under her. And her lawyer put a hand on her arm. My father did not move. He stared at the table. I watched him stare at the table and I thought, this is the first honest thing you have done in 40 years. Sentencing came 2 weeks later. My mother got 3 years. Suspended. With 5 years of supervised probation and a permanent no-contact order with me, my father got the same. They were each fined $30,000. The judge, in his sentencing remarks, said something I want to quote as closely as I can remember it, because I wrote it down in my notebook the moment he said it. He said, "The court sees many cases of family violence. What distinguishes this case is not the violence itself, tragic as it is, but the calculated, premeditated attempt by 2 adults to weaponize that violence against the victim. A stabbing is a moment. Filming a stabbing in hopes of using it to destroy the victim's reputation is a campaign. This court will not tolerate the use of a family member as a target." The courtroom was silent when he said it. Not the ordinary silence of a courtroom. A deeper silence. The kind you feel in your chest. I did not speak to my parents as we left the building. I have not spoken to them since. The no-contact orders make that legally required. But I want to be clear about something, even if the orders were lifted tomorrow. I would not speak to them. I am not angry anymore. I was angry for a long time. I am something past anger now. Something quieter and more permanent. Which is the understanding that the people who made me were never going to love me the way I needed them to. And pretending they might has cost me 29 years. I got a promotion in September. Supervisory Special Agent. White collar. Transferring to the Washington field office. I sold the house in Austin. I bought a small place in Arlington, Virginia, with a yard big enough for a dog. And I adopted a 3-year-old shepherd mix named Mabel from the rescue near my office. Mabel sleeps at the foot of my bed. She has never once laughed at me. My scar is about 2 inches long. On the inside of my left bicep. It's faded to silver now. I see it every morning in the mirror when I get dressed for work. And I don't think about Chloe when I see it. And I don't think about my mother. And I don't think about the sound of my father's phone recording in my doorway. I think about the paramedic who asked me if I wanted my mother to come in the ambulance. And the way my supervisor said, "I am so sorry. What do you need?" And the way Patricia Vega said, "We are going to make this right." And the way Judge Bratcher said the word campaign. And the way Mabel pushes her cold nose against my hand when I stand in the kitchen too long staring at nothing. People ask me, sometimes, when they find out the whole story, whether I forgive them. They usually mean it kindly. They usually think forgiveness is a door I am supposed to walk through on my way to peace. I tell them the truth. Which is this. Forgiveness is not a door. It is a floor. It is the ground you stand on. And some floors are built on concrete and some floors are built on nothing. And you do not owe your weight to a floor that will not hold you. My family did not build a floor. They built a stage. And they stood on it my whole life, performing for an audience that was never coming. And when I finally stepped off, they tried to break my legs, so I couldn't walk away. I walked away anyway. Merry Christmas.